Hagan Bishop was born in Barron County, Kentucky in 1837 to parents Samuel Bishop, who was born in March of 1814, and Lydia Goodman, who was born about 1820. Hagan married Julianne Charter, who was born in 1833. Their first child, James Hayden, was born in March of 1857, and Amanda Elizabeth was born October 20th, 1860. Hagan and his wife were farmers. Not much is known about their life on the farm, but it's certain that he and his bride were hardworking. Farm families of that day truly were early to bed and early to rise. To feed his family, backbreaking work would begin before dawn for both Hagan and Julie and continue late into the evening. In order to feed and care for his wife and children, most of the things that they would need would be grown or produced on the farm. In 1861, the country was about to be swept into war. The Civil War divided our country, our communities, and even our families. Some with strong, differing opinions found brother fighting against brother, but not the bishops. They were steadfast Union loyalists. Samuel's boys, the ones of age, were united in defense of our young nation. Hagan, Harmon, and their oldest brother Milton all volunteered for the Union 9th Kentucky Infantry. Milton joined Company K of the 9th Kentucky Infantry, and from November 28th until December 14th, 1861, he was a cook in the same hospital that Hagan worked in as a nurse. On April 10th, 1863, Milton was promoted from corporal to first sergeant. He was mustered out of service in Louisville, Kentucky on December 18th, 1864. He eventually moved to Fulton County, Arkansas. Harmon joined Company K of the 9th Kentucky Infantry on September 25th, 1861. He was a bugle boy and served until he was discharged disabled from Peace House Hospital in Nashville, Tennessee. He's buried with his wife, Nan Lawrence, in the Buck Creek Cemetery. Hagan joined Company K of the 9th Kentucky Infantry on October 25th, 1861. From December 8th to December 31st, he was employed as a nurse. On January 2nd, 1863, during the Battle of the Stones River, he was mortally wounded in the chest. Hagan, having served honestly and faithfully with his company, died on January 11th, 1863, and is buried in the National Cemetery at the Stones River National Battleground in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The Battle of Stones River. After Confederate General Braxton Bragg's defeat at Perryville, Kentucky, October 8, 1862, he and his Confederate Army of the Mississippi retreated, reorganized, and were redesignated as the Army of Tennessee. They then advanced to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and prepared to go into winter quarters. Major General William S. Rosecrans's Union Army of the Cumberland followed Bragg from Kentucky to Nashville. Rosecrans left Nashville on December 26 with about 45,000 men to defeat Bragg's army. He found Bragg's army on December 29th and went into camp that night within hearing distance of the rebels. At dawn on the 31st, Bragg's men attacked the Union right flank. The Confederates had driven the Union line back to the Nashville pike by 10 a.m., but there it held. Union reinforcements arrived from Rosecrans's left to bolster the stand, and before fighting stopped that day, the Federals had established a new, strong line. On New Year's Day, both armies marked time. Bragg surmised that Rosecrans would now withdraw, but the next morning he was still in position. In late afternoon, Bragg hurled a division at a Union division that on January 1st had crossed Stones River and had taken up a strong position on the bluff east of the river. The Confederates drove most of the Federals back across McFadden's Ford, but with the assistance of artillery, the Federals repulsed the attack, compelling the rebels to retire to their original position. Bragg left the field January 5th, retreating to Shelbyville and Tullahoma. Rosecrans did not pursue, but as the Confederates retired, he claimed the victory. Stones River boosted Union morale. The Confederates had been thrown back in the east, west, and in the Trans-Mississippi. Julianne never remarried. She raised her children and lived out her life in Fountain Run, Kentucky. She's buried in the Wood Cemetery. James Hayden married Laura Virginia Wood. Laura was born January 25, 1857. They had 7 children. Their last child, Criller Damaris Bishop, was born October 2, 1889. James Hayden was a farmer and did extra things to help earn a living, like custom hauling with a mule team and owning a country store. He lived and raised his family on a farm he owned in Barron County, about 3 miles from Fountain Run. He was noted for his honesty and truthfulness. He was a member of the Union Baptist Church. Laura Virginia Wood died on June 22, 1894. She is buried in the Wood Cemetery. James Hayden remarried in 1897. His second wife was Effie Catherine Steenburgen. James Hayden died on July 27, 1928. He is buried in the Wood Cemetery with both of his wives and his mother, Julianne. Criller married William Foster Doolin in 1905. They moved to Smith's Grove, Kentucky, and were farmers. Criller and William had 14 children. Criller died on August 19, 1936. William Foster died on July 29, 1956. They are both buried in Pleasant Grove Cemetery in Smith's Grove, Kentucky.
This is Marie Lynn. The main thing I remember going to school, happy years, is when my mother was still living. Unfortunately, we lost her when I was 15 and a half, and 3 younger than I was. And it stands out real good in my mind. We had awful cold winters. We drug wood. We carried water. Loretta Lynn had nothing on us, absolutely nothing. We had to have hand-down clothes and whatever we had, but we were so proud when the box would arrive from Illinois that my Aunt Bert would send. I had one pink silk dress that I wore to church, and one day one of the kids ripped my shoulder, and Bee and Ruby whipped her for ripping my dress. My first husband was George Massey. He died at 42. And the second husband was Bob Lynn. He died at 50. Like a month and 50. I've raised 3 beautiful children. Unfortunately, we lost Jeff. But I am blessed every day with my family, my daughter-in-laws, and the grandchildren. And this is the end of my story until I go back.
Wait a minute, Mom. Tell them who your favorite son is. Go ahead.
All 3. And you grew up in what town?
Wasn't a town. It was a farm. We were about 8 miles from a little town called Smith Grove, Kentucky. And Bowling Green was like 18 miles. That was our closest town.
Okay.
It was on a farm. My father had over 100 acres. He didn't farm at all, but there's a lot of room for a lot of kids to run and fight and pull hair and pinch and try to get out of what they're supposed to be doing, their jobs.
What would be a normal day?
Wasn't nothing normal. Of course, wasn't nothing modern then. You didn't have electricity. We had to bring in wood, cut wood to cook on. Had a big fireplace to heat in the winter and another stove that burned wood. You went out in the woods and you cut it. We had cows. Now, I was lucky there. I didn't have to milk because there was about 10 ahead of me that could milk. And they said Aunt Bee used to milk on her bare feet to keep her feet warm. She'd get to the house with hardly any milk in the bucket. The milk is warm. And went to school and come home and done your chores, like whatever there was to be done. You washed on a washboard. And then my mother was sick a lot. She was sick most of my life. And you had to help cook and clean and all that good stuff. Aunt Lou, I don't remember too much about her being home. But she made all of her clothes. My father bought a bolt of material, all blue check. Like about 8 of us had blue check dresses with halfway belts. We'd go down over the hill before you got to the schoolhouse, and we were called the Bluebirds.
Because of your dress?
Yeah, and that made me very angry.
How old were you when your mother passed away?
I was 12.
What do you remember your mom like?
She was a very sweet, patient lady, sick. I just remember her being sick most of my life. The doctor said she had asthma real bad, heart problems, and back then they did not diagnose anyone that was sick. And now that I grew up and think about it, I think she also had cancer. She lost a lot of weight and she looked like a cancer person, her color and everything. And she just didn't have any medication, never got to see a doctor. They didn't give medicine back then. And it was hard for her to breathe, and she just suffered a lot. Ruby and Bee left home real early age, so it was put on Marie, Michael, and me to do the cleaning and all the work that had to be done. They grew up real fast and went to Nashville and found Jimmy and Freddie.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. Dad chased monsters from the dark. He checked underneath my bed, and he could lift me with one arm, way up over top his head. He could loosen rusty bolts with a quick turn of his wrench. He pulled splinters from his hand, never even flinch. In 13 years I'd never seen him cry, but the day that Grandpa died, I realized unsinkable ships sink, unbreakable walls break. Sometimes the things you think would never happen just like that. Unbendable steel bends if the fury of the wind is unstoppable. I've learned to never underestimate the impossible. Then there was my junior year. Billy had a brand new car. It was late, the road was wet. I guess the curve was just too sharp. I walked away without a scratch. They brought the helicopter in. Billy couldn't feel his legs. They said he'd never walk again, but Billy said he would, and his mom and daddy prayed. And the day we graduated, he stood up to say, unsinkable ships sink, unbreakable walls break. Sometimes the things you think would never happen just like that. Unbendable steel bends if the fury of the wind is unstoppable. I've learned to never underestimate the impossible. So don't tell me that it's over. Don't give up on you and me, 'cause there's no such thing as hopeless if you believe. Unsinkable ships sink, unbreakable walls break. Sometimes the things you think would never happen just like that. Unbendable steel bends if the fury of the wind is unstoppable. I've learned to never underestimate the impossible.
Buford's Pond.
Buford's Pond.
What's
That
the
was a neighbor. That was on the farm before my mother passed away. Before we moved to Fountain Road. It was just a pond where the cattle, the cows, and the horses drank. And Bee liked to fish. She had a fishing pole. She'd throw it in the mud hole. And if there's anything to say she's fishing. Well, there's any fish in there? I don't know. Never did see her catch one. She'd whip the water with the pole. Everybody had to be real quiet because that scared the fish away. She always spit on the worm, the bait on the hook.
What was that represent?
Well, you catch more fish.
Oh.
And so that was just, what they called a pond back then. They were good neighbors. They didn't care what.
Well, I recall as kids that we used to load up in cars, and that was supposed to have been a big treat to take us to Buford's
It
Pond.
was just that one time, I think.
No, we'd go to Buford's Pond, and it was miserable.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about it. Look how many times I went.
Hey, all the parents thought they were doing us a big favor.
Well,
Piling up in cars and going, it was the original KOA.
making lunches. But Aunt B loved to fish. I mean, where she caught anything or not, she'd spit on that worm and see some kind of little ribs.
What I remember most about the experience was how much Aunt B loved to fish. I remember trying to throw my fishing line into the pond and instead hooking it in Stevie's back. I think I am still traumatized to this day of seeing that fishing hook caught in Stevie's back and knowing that I did it. Do you remember coming down from Indianapolis in these big car caravans and all that, and going to Buford's Pond, and all of us cousins getting around the pond and traveling on 31W all that way?
Oh yeah, we would. They'd say, "Kids, get together," and so then we get down there, and our bunch invented the first KOA, and they'd get down there. Nobody had any camping gear, so to speak.
Oh no.
And they would say, "Just find you a spot in the back seat of a car. Get tired."
We just slept in the cars. Everybody took turns sleeping in the cars, front seat, back seat.
Yeah, legs all entwangled around the steering wheel, and you get a big stiff neck. Oh, it'd be hot and mosquitoes. And they thought they took us for a good time. And we'd stay a long weekend, usually 2 or 3 nights down there.
Oh yeah.
And it was primitive, very primitive, and you roughed it. And the adults would sit out on the bank and fish and cuss and fuss. And the kids would hang out and do whatever, I guess. And I think that's one reason I don't like camping to this day. That was a big turn-off to me.
Oh yeah, that was roughing it, that's for sure. I don't even remember cooking out or doing, what did we eat? I don't remember.
You got a point there.
I don't remember what we had.
All I can remember is I ate a box of cheeses one time, and I think Aunt B brought them, because we never had anything like that. That was gourmet luxury back then.
Say goodnight, not goodbye. You will never leave my heart behind. Like the path of a star, I'll be anywhere you are. In the spark that lies beneath the coals, in the secret place inside your soul, keep my light in your eyes. Say goodnight, not goodbye. Don't you fear when you dream, waking up is never what it seems. Like a jewel buried deep, like a promise meant to keep. You are everything you wanna be, so just let your heart reach out to me. I'll be right by your side. Say goodnight, not goodbye. just let your heart reach out to me. Keep my light in your eyes. Say goodnight, not goodbye. Say goodnight, not there are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. All these places have their moments with lovers and friends I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living, but in my life I've loved them all. But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one that compares with you. These memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something you. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. Oh, I know I'll often stop and think about them. But in my life, I love you more. In my life, I love you more.
There's a for sale sign on a big old rusty tractor. You can't miss it. It's the first thing that you see. Just up the road, a pale blue water tower with I Love Jenny painted in bright green. Hey, that's my Uncle Bill there by the courthouse. He'll be lowering the flag when the sun goes down. And this is my town.
Yeah, this is my town. Hey, where I was born, where I was raised, where I keep all my yesterdays. Where I ran off 'cause I got mad and it came to blows with my old man. Where I came back, settled down, that's where they'll put me in the ground. This is my town. Yeah.
That whistle still blows every day at noon. A bunch of us still go down to the diner. I wonder if that interstate's still coming through. But come Sunday morning service at the Church of Christ, well, there ain't an empty seat to be found, and this is my town. Yeah, this is my town. Where I was born, where I was raised, where I keep all my yesterdays, where I ran off 'cause I got mad and it came to blows with my old man. Where I came back to settle down, where they put me in the ground. This is my town. Yeah, this is my town. Don't know much about you, I don't know who you are. We've been doing fine without you, but we could only go so far. I don't know why you chose us, were you watching from above? Is there someone there that knows us, said we'd give you all our love? Laugh just like your mother? Will you sigh like your old man? Will something skip a generation like I've heard they often can? Are you a poet or a dancer, a devil or a clown, or a strange new combination of the things we've handed down? Wonder who you look like, will your hair fall down and curl? Will you be mama's boy or daddy's little girl? Will you be a sad reminder of what's been lost along the way? Maybe you can help me find her and the things you do and say. And these things that we have given you, they are not so easily found. Oh, but you can thank us later for the things we've handed down. The things we've handed down, 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 down. You may not always be so grateful for the way that you were made. Maybe some feature of your father's that you'd gladly sell or trade. And one day you may look at us and say that you were cursed. But over time that line has been extremely well rehearsed by our fathers and their fathers in some old and distant town, from places no one here remembers come the things we've handed down, the things we've handed down, yeah. The things we've handed down.
You were my strength. You were my eyes when I couldn't see. You saw the best there was in me. Lifted me up when I couldn't reach. You gave me faith 'cause you believed I'm everything I am because you loved me. Oh, you were always there for me. The tender wind that carried me, the light in the dark, shining your love into my life. You've been my inspiration through the lies you weren't true. My world is a better place because of you. You were my strength when I was weak. You were my strength. When I couldn't see. When I couldn't speak. You saw the best there was in me. You gave me faith. Yes, you believed I'm everything I am because you loved me. My power. You saw the best there was in me. Believed I'm everything I am because you love me. Oh, I'm everything I am because you loved me.
Good afternoon. We're all having a wonderful afternoon at the Doolin reunion. Today is July 4th, 2002. I'm Tom Judd. I married Miss Cheryl Goodman from the Magdalene side of this family. We have two children, Christopher and Tiffany. Christopher is 8 years old. He likes riding four-wheelers and playing soccer and that. Sissy, Tiffany Ann, she's 5 years old. She likes to do dance. She's in kindergarten.
I just want to play Piper and all that stuff.
Lovely Cheryl, she does a lot of just being Hollywood.
Always. And I just help my
That's
mom.
what she does best.
Right now at a picnic shelter down by Caney Creek, you'll find potato salad, hot dogs, and baked beans. The whole Wilson family's lined up filling their paper plates. And they've drove or flown in here from 15 different states. Stanley Wilson says that 60 years ago he knew that Miss Emma Tucker was the one. Now 5 generations get together every June, and all because 2 people fell in love. Yeah, there ain't nothing not affected when 2 hearts get connected. All that is will be or ever was. Every single choice we make, every breath we get to take, is all because 2 people fell in love. I recall a young man who was drifting aimlessly
and a young waitress who seemed lonesome as could be. But in a little cafe right off of 14th Avenue, with a whole lot of help from up above, we met and things sure turned around for me and you, and all because two people fell in love. Well, baby, there ain't nothing not affected when two hearts get connected. All that is will be or ever was. I'm glad your dad could not resist your mama's charms and you exist, all because two people fell in love. You know, to me it's all so clear, every one of us is here, all because two people fell in love.
Say something. Oh, I turned that. Hello.
And blinking step into the sun. There's more to be seen than can ever be seen. More to do than can ever be done. Some say eat or be eaten. Some say live and let live. But all I agree is to join the stampede. You should never take more than you give.
The other one really working. We're here in the heat. Show us how we do it. We're here in the heat. Beautiful Garfield Park. Say something.
The three amigos are still with us, and God bless them. That's the Sister Yaya, Sisterhood Yaya Club. My cousin's Glenn, I haven't seen for 200 years. 300 years.
300 years. Are they well preserved or what?
Yes, we are.
Fire.
Holiday Tree, Garfield Park, 2002.
The thing that was instilled in me the most in those first 11 years of my life living in Indianapolis was the determination of my mother and her sisters to be together as much as possible, even as they raised their own families. I guess that is the main reason why I love to be with my aunts and cousins to this day.
I feel that the love around me has come from another world. I have lost love. I have found love from the moment you were born. I could see a new beginning come to me. Let me tell you how I've lost love, how I found love in a world of broken dreams. I was wrong to deny your feelings, and I'm sorry if I've caused you pain. I was lost then, so confused then. I believed that you would change that. There are broken hearts we can mend through the music we've learned to love again, through the silence, through the years. There were times when I just couldn't hear you. Now we've come to an understanding, and I'm sorry that it took so long. I have lost love. I have found love from the moment you were born. I have lost you. Now I've found you. Let me feel your heart. Let me hear your